Welcome to Coffee and Commercial, your source for positive, caffeinated information, inspiration, and motivation. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Gunawardina.
I'm your second host, Carlos Asensio.
And we've got
Madison Gorgone
and
Robert Gavela
here on our podcast today. So we're excited to have you guys in studio today. Madison, we've known for a long time, and you connected us with the wonderful client of yours, Robert, from Harvest Landscape. And so we're excited to have you guys in studio today. But before we get started, we are coffee and commercial. So let's get the coffee out of the way. So on the table is a Spanish latte from Canabrew Coffee here in the city of Chino. So let's take a taste. Let me know what you guys think.
Can we cheers?
We can cheers.
Cheers.
We can cheers for sure. All right.
Cheers to Canabrew.
Cheers. All right.
Oh, that's good.
That is good.
Great
That's
coffee
without
for
milk.
this type of weather.
Wow, perfect.
And Canabrew, great spot to chill. They have a great open lounge area, great local spot to enjoy a cup of coffee. And if you get a chance, I've never had anything I didn't like on that menu. So go and check it out when you have a chance. And before we get going into the meat of the episode with you guys, Madison, can you tell us what is your favorite coffee spot and your favorite drink there?
Darn it, this is hard. So I'm a huge coffee person. I like to taste a lot of different ones, but I think Mi Cafecito in Pomona, the Cafe de Olla. I'm really new to Cafe de Olla, and it's a really nice treat for me.
Awesome.
I've had that one there before. It's really good.
That's a great
And they
spot
make
too.
a cold brew of Cafe de
You know what?
Olla.
I haven't tried it. I haven't tried the cold brew yet.
Gotta try it.
Robert.
Wow. Let's see. I've got so many. Let me see if I can narrow them down.
Your top three now.
The top three. There's actually one called. I want to say it's in Orange. It's Brew, True Brew.
True Brew.
I know.
Okay.
Orange.
been
It's
there.
right across the street from Rancho Santa Marga or Rancho, the college.
Okay.
There's a college across the street from there.
Chapman?
True Brew.
Chapman?
Not Chapman.
Oh.
The junior college.
Oh,
Santiago.
Santiago.
There you go. Santiago College. Great location. True Brew.
Awesome.
Yes.
Very good. Well, we got connected with you guys through Madison. So Madison is an agent at Remax Top Producers, where we're from. And so, we run the commercial division at the office, and Madison approached us with the opportunity to work with her client, Harvest Landscape. So Madison, kind of walk us through your background in real estate and then how you got this connection with Robert.
So I started at Remax Top Producers at the front desk. That was my first step into real estate. I did a lot of their marketing and special events and just office admin work. And from there, I was there about a year, and then I transitioned into being a licensed agent. So then kind of from there, that was about almost 3 years ago. So I've just kind of dove into the real estate game and gone from there. And the way I met Robert was actually through a nonprofit event in Chino Hills. It was a food and clothing drive.
Yes, it was.
Right at the shops at Chino Hills.
Yes.
So I do a lot of nonprofit charity work, and this was just another one because a mutual friend of ours, Cynthia, she was the one hosting it, and we were both volunteering. Actually, it was the one at Los Serranos, I think. is where we met.
Yes, it was at Los
Right?
Serranos, correct.
Right, yeah. So it was like a food and clothing drive, basically. So that's how we originally got connected. And then he reached out to me for commercial needs, and I was telling him that I have the dream team, who are the experts of commercial. I'm more residential focused, so commercial is not quite my forte. So that's why I wanted to connect to you guys.
And I think you're killing it in the social media space. I think you have done far better in social media than people that have been in the game for many, many years. And so I think you're able to capture a market that is unique to you. And so can you kind of walk us through what goes into what you do on the social media aspect of things? Because I think that's valuable for other residential agents that are trying to do it.
Yeah, social media is really useful in our real estate industry, really any industry. But when I got started in real estate, I didn't know anything. I didn't really come from a background. No one in my family, none of my friends were in real estate. So I just came into it very green. I mean, I'm wearing green. That was the moment.
No pun intended. No.
No pun intended. So when I got started too, it was the pandemic hit. So I was licensed, and a month later, COVID hit. So we weren't allowed to do open houses anymore. We weren't really supposed to be door knocking. There was just a lot of that person-to-person contact, that a lot of old methods of real estate that are still really useful, but we just couldn't do them. So I just took to social media. And what worked for me is that I just provided a lot of educational content because people thought I was more experienced and had been in the business longer than what I actually was, but I was posting things as I learned it. Mm-hmm. So I came from a purely, educational perspective of just trying to share value and information and a lot of terminology. And what I learned through all that is there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of confusion about real estate. I think like all, you guys and myself, we're in it every day. So we assume people know these things. They know what an interest rate is, or, what escrow is. And it's when you really break it down and start sharing it with people, they actually don't really know a lot of the terminology. Mm-hmm. So I was able to connect with a lot of people, I think, just on the pure, appreciation that they wanted the value and they wanted to learn more. So I think for people that struggle with social media, or they don't know what to post, or they're, it's uncomfortable. I mean, you don't always have to put yourself on camera, although that's really beneficial because you want people to know who you are and to see who you are. But if you have trouble doing that, just take it to the basics and just share valuable content and education, and people will really grasp onto that.
I have that problem, I'm one of those. No, but it's like on the social media post, like I follow you and I follow your lender as well too, and Chris. When you guys get together, I just love the pieces that you guys put together in social media. But I think that you're doing a great job, because you're doing a lot of different things that I don't really see a lot of realtors doing in social media. And that's where, like, for us, we're trying to get more comfortable with it as well. Because for me, I'm the type of guy that I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to be on camera, but I'm like, who cares, right? It's more about putting the message out. Because I think in today's society, it's like, we want to do more social media, but for the wrong reasons, versus if we do social media to put, teach people certain things or advice, right? I think it'll go a longer way, especially what you do. I mean, it's like some of the social media posts that I see that you do, they're very informative. So I know that people are going to reach out to you right away.
Right.
Because, you have that good delivery.
Yeah, and there's so much content that we can share because there's so much information. And the cool part about real estate is it's always changing. I mean, look at 6 months ago to now. Now the conversations are a little bit different. Now we're talking about loan programs more where we weren't before. Mm-hmm. So it's cool because we get to constantly change our content. We're not really going to be, sharing the same thing over and over. We can stay relative. It's very similar stuff, but we're changing the conversations and kind of, resharing, which is very easy to do. So you shouldn't run out of ideas in real estate.
You have to always reinvent yourself every day. It's like, I always try to tell people, it's like you have to be uncomfortable to get comfortable, but you're always having to reinvent anything that you're doing now, especially with how the market is right now, how there's a lot of people just like, oh, what do I do? Do I pause or do I just quit the industry, But we're having to reinvent ourselves because now we can become the leaders.
True, very true.
And so you connected us with Robert. Harvest Landscape Enterprises was looking for a space in the Inland Empire to expand operations.
Correct.
And so we were looking for helping you look for a space for that. But can you kind of give us some background on you, Robert, and how you got involved with Harvest Landscape Enterprises and what your role is there?
So I'm the CPO for Harvest Landscape. I've been going on my third year in the industry. I've been with the landscape industry for 15 years. So it's key to have locations, whether brick and mortar or open space, for our density of our properties. Because again, less drive time on the freeways or streets means more time on your property. And so for us, that's key for us. And so we've been now, next year we'll be celebrating our 20th year in business.
Fantastic.
And so we're pretty excited because we're growing in Orange County. We're growing in San Diego County, the Inland Empire, both in Riverside and also in San Bernardino.
Wow.
So again, as we're working with your team, we've been very fortunate to have some great locations available to us, again, through your contacts, which allows us to look at those areas for us as a business plan. Because again, it's always about strategizing with huge properties and then now backfill with the density. And then if we have a location there, it just makes it that much easier for us to provide that service.
And when you guys are looking to expand into an area, is there a metric that you look for as far as the number of clients you service before you say, you know what, I've got to put a hub in that area now?
It's kind of the philosophy of like, we build it, they'll come type of attitude. But I think because of our penetration that we get into certain markets, it almost kind of grows organically. So sure, it would be great to have a plan ahead and say, this is what we want for these areas. But again, it's always about now having that relationship with our homeowners, our HOAs and our property management companies. So once they kind of help us get our foot in the door, our services and our, as you kind of again talked about educating, we need to be the leaders in our industry in order for us to sit there and drive that to our clients. And so once we do that, again, we've got so many different assets within our staff. We have arborists, we have horticulturists, we have water managers. We have so many different people that come and bring information to our clients.
And I think from what I've seen you guys doing on social media, a lot of what you're bringing is a lot of technology. And you're not just bringing just the service, but you're adding equipment that's, top of the line, getting into really good water conservation equipment and things that will allow your client to not only have a good looking property, but to be water conscious and water wise.
Absolutely. We just recently purchased a RC mower, which is a remote control mower.
Wow.
And so this basically helps reduce any injuries or labor that we're having shortages in labor. So this machine actually goes and can climb slopes and do what's called a fuel modification. So the fire authority allows us to have 100 feet from any structure, and we have to clear that out throughout different types of communities. And so those machines are available to us, because before we have now people that have to tie in, lower themselves, risk of injury. Mm-hmm. But with this machine, it's able to do that within, I think, a quarter of the time. So the ROI
fantastic.
on an investment like that is something that the company's always looking at, because we're investing in either science or technology in order to get a higher return for our clients. So that's one key thing that we've been doing.
So one thing is that you guys are basically like innovators for the industry.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, based on what you're telling me that you guys do, I just don't think that there's other companies that are close to what you guys are doing right now. And I think you guys are probably just setting up the path to a great launch.
Yes.
To actually surpass all the other competitors.
Yeah. When I first met the owner of the company, he's a 44-year-old guy who just I met him and I thought to myself, well, this guy's the Elon Musk of landscape, because he thinks so much. So, there's so many things going on in his brain that he's hired people like ourselves, myself, to sit there and just capture one thing and try and help him, just basically hold on to it. And then we go, okay, next. And he just continues. So he's always, outdoing himself by thinking outside of the box. I know it's an old cliche, but, when you look at the company and how it's evolved, he's been basically the founder of so many different things, software that he's built, landscape related. And again, by bringing and reinvesting into the company and also into the staff, it's been really, really a great culture to be around and to see what his vision is. And so that's why we're very, very fortunate to have a guy who's always thinking outside of the box and allowing us as individuals to bring, talent from the outside into this industry to sit there and say, it's not just a mow and blow company. This is an actual company that thinks about the future our carbon footsteps, footprints that we leave behind, and all these different things. So
it's almost like the Jeff Bezos and Steve Jobs, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
They were thinking outside the box. Everyone thought they're crazy. That idea is not going to work. And look what happened.
Yeah. So
and Elon Musk is also another one. They thought he was a crazy kid.
Yes. Yeah. So again, having the landscape industry has been kind of an interesting industry where, we were talking earlier about construction. Construction is just a one-time. You install and you leave. When you are dealing in maintenance, it's an ongoing.
Yeah.
So it really, you have to develop a relationship with several of your clients, whether they're board members, whether they're communities, whether they're property management companies. You're constantly there every month servicing them. And again, it's a very emotional thing when it comes to landscape. And so we try and be the educators, whether it's giving them advice on water management or giving them advice on how to beautify their communities in order to get a better return when they're selling their properties, or even just attracting themselves. We've got pocket parks that, you're watching kids play, and then people come up to us and said, my son learned how to walk on that park. And it kind of gives us a great, sense of worth when we're there, literally watching these communities develop, as well as also new communities that we're helping out. So,
yeah, and I think with what you guys are doing, it really takes thought leadership to set yourself apart in the marketplace. So, when you think about what a thought leader is, it's someone who has vision, who has exceptional ability, and then uses that to obtain market influence. And so in order to do that, you have to be willing to have someone in the organization that's a visionary, but also execute. Because I think we all know there's people that have great ideas, but there's no follow through on the execution. Sure. But surrounding yourself with the right team that can make a vision become a reality. And then what you start to do is you start to set the trajectory of where the industry goes.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
So some people are followers, but then there's actually the leaders that kind of blaze the trail, and then you see other companies in industry try to copycat that later down the line, but the person who really dominates the market is the one that came out with the technology first.
Absolutely. So, Steven's been, very, very fortunate to be invited to speak at trade shows about the technology that he's introduced into the industry, as well as also, help develop with software that he's looking to maybe even sell it into the industry. Once we perfect that into our in-house proprietary software, we might be able to sit there and use that as a platform in order to sit there and help other landscape companies, look at what we are doing for their communities as well. So again, he's always, forward thinking, which is a great opportunity for all of us.
And what are some of the challenges? Because I know we've been looking for properties in other markets for you guys to get into, and there have been some difficulties in locating some of these. Can you kind of talk to what you've experienced?
Sure. So again, obviously the zoning aspect to what the land use is for. We look at the high traffic availability, depending on who the neighbors are, in order for us to sit there and wake up at 6 o'clock. Our peak times are at 6:30 in the morning, and then we come back at 3:30. Pretty much during the day, it's in and out, maybe one or two vehicles, but for the most part, our main fleet leaves at 6:30 in the morning, and they come back at 3:30. So again, we look at, as we talked about penetration, we look at several cities, that we're working in. If we could reduce the windshield time, that's perfect for us. Again, it's quicker response to any emergency calls or anything of that nature. So again, are we really looking for brick and mortar? Really, it's almost like an 80-20. So we're looking for 80 space and 20 brick and mortar. In some cases, we have open space. I've worked with the city of Irvine, and so they allowed us to park our vehicles over at, I want to say it's the El Toro Marine Base.
Yep.
And so
the abandoned stations.
Yes. And so there's obviously open land, very difficult to work with both Irvine as well as also Orange County, but we came together on an agreement on what we're going to be doing. So we were able to put ourselves there, which now helps us grow our business. So again, our $40 million in landscape is now going to be turning into a 50, 60 as we start becoming larger in these areas where we're looking for growth.
Because what we've noticed is that a lot of cities from San Diego, LA, and Orange County, the zonings have been changing because of the drastic constructions of all these multiple homes that are being put on the market now. But I have noticed where a lot of the commercial lots right now, they're just being rezoned, which the use that they had before is not allowed anymore. And that's where it's pushing a lot of businesses, especially like for what you do as well too. They're pushing them out of the area.
Yes.
Because now you're having to go more on the outer skirts of the cities. But then now you got to factor in the cost of fuel to get from there to there.
Absolutely. And that's where the key thing is to answer your question, where is the key spot is where we can reduce that time on the road. Again, we have a property right now in Dana Point. And so Dana Point, they just approved the desalination plant. And so there's going to be construction right along that one area to where they're going to be pushing us out of there probably the next, say, couple of years now. So we got to now think outside of those areas, where can we park our vehicles?
Yeah.
And so that's where, again, you guys come in, and you guys have been doing a great job. Right now, our focus is in northern San Diego. Because
Oceanside,
we're growing, we're growing that area, San Marcos, anything like off the 78. So we're looking those areas to grow. And so, again, our competitors are doing the same thing. They're struggling because they don't have you guys as a partner.
One of the things is that I know that a lot of our clients that we've talked to, that we've been servicing them, is that they've had a different experience with us versus them dealing with other bigger commercial brokerages. I mean, what are some of the experiences that you can say that you had with us that you probably didn't have with your previous commercial brokers that you guys worked with in the past?
Well, it's interesting because when I was looking for property, it was basically just driving around and looking. And then at this point, I'm going like, I'm really spinning my wheels because I don't know what the zoning is or anything that would basically help me other than just spend an entire day driving around and making phone calls. And they go, no, we don't want you, or we can't lease the property to you. So then I reached out to Madison, and I know she's obviously, again, social network or social media and everything else that she does. And then I thought, I'm going to reach out to her and see if she can connect me. Great networker. And so she connected me with Chris and his team, and everything just kind of fell in sync. I explained to them what I needed, where I needed it, and they just basically were just throwing properties left and right to me. So then at my point, I had to now figure out my budget and also take a look at what geographically makes sense. And so again, the property that we did sign in Ontario, it was basically a walk in the park. Went there, and the only thing I had to do now is go and get a business license and go through the city.
Yep.
And so luckily I have either I'm tenacious and I'm just standing in line.
That application
something
for
in
sure.
those applications, man. I jammed through applications now and slid this thing in. It was a 4-week process, and I did it
a matter
in
of
3
days.
days.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And normally
Yeah.
a lot of people
I didn't
usually
know
have
that.
issues,
Oh, yeah.
just to file for those CUPs. I mean, it's
Absolutely.
it's a nightmare. Like, you get people that'll submit them in, and they're like, oh my God, 3 weeks later, I forgot to fill this out, or I forgot to do this.
He calls me 3 days later and he's like, oh, I got the application already approved, and I already got my
Yeah,
permit.
when I heard that, I was like, "What?" I'm like, "Dude,
yeah.
that go. He's got to create a little booklet so we can hand it out to all of our
Right?
clients. Like, this is how you do it.
Yeah,
He made them an offer they couldn't refuse.
yeah, I was going to say I made an offer that they could not refuse, but no, I mean, again, there's when you're dealing with the city, there's a lot of red tape and a lot of things that you have to follow, and so once you fill all the forms out, you just follow and just continue down that path. But like I said, I was pretty relentless and tenacious in order for them to sit there and
stalk
get
them in the parking lot.
Yeah.
watch the video,
I wasn't a stalker,
No,
but
just
I was
kidding.
more or less just, hey, this is what we have, this is what we need, and again, we're here to help, service your communities within, and so that was a key thing there is when you're talking to cities that we're reducing again our carbon footprint, and we're servicing the communities within the city. So those are things that they were more inclined to sit there and go, okay, well, you know what? Let me just slide your application at the top, and we'll go ahead and just sign it.
Yeah.
And the tiers didn't help. They worked as well. It
Process,
didn't.
yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Robert was just outside the parking lot. Every time the clerk comes out, he's like,
Yeah. I followed a couple people home. I didn't want to see it.
But I think also the difficulty was we started to be in competition with a lot of uses for like trailer storage and these other uses where people were starting to want to pay astronomical prices per square foot. I know some of the ones that we were looking at in the Orange County area were ridiculous. I mean, they were charging more for the land than they were for the building part of the art. Wow. So you look at, price per square foot was going for like 50 cents to 60 cents per square foot of the land of the property. So you start paying, 15 grand a month for a lot. That starts to become very constrictive to your business growth because you have to, build your model around a good cash flow model where you're not spending a bunch of money just for the overhead of renting a space.
Sure. And again, that's when, we have to take a look at what our property, our client list looks like. And again, as we start building our list of clients within that community or within that reach, we could sit there and pay $15,000 if we need to. But again, it all starts when we look at what areas we are looking to grow in.
Yeah. The numbers just have to add up at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, that's exactly what we're looking at. So,
and what are you seeing as we kind of go into the end of the year? Obviously, because the projects that you guys work on and your customers that you have, everyone does end of the year spending and everyone does forecasting on what projects they're going to have budgets for going into next year. Are you seeing people kind of pulling back on those budgets, or are you seeing customers really wanting to spend to add value?
Well, I think, everybody, what we've been noticing is, we do very large turf renovation. So the turf renovation, because again, we're still in a drought tolerant or a drought alert
situation, yeah.
Right. And so, as we're bringing education to the forefront with our homeowners and the boards, we're talking to them about programs that the state is offering, dollars on square footage to replace your turf. And so that's like 70% of your water bill goes directly to water some of these, high cost plant or areas in your landscape. Mm-hmm. So the two things that are the most expensive things in your HOA are landscape maintenance and your water bill. Well, when a company like ourselves, like Harvest, can go in and actually manage both of those and really give them or the communities a definitely a big bang for the buck, as far as managing those two. And so again, that's kind of where we're looking at in 2023 is to continue down that path of educating our clients and letting them know that there's still money available. The technology as far as converting a lot of their irrigation into more efficient irrigation systems, smart controllers, Weathermatics, whether we have WeatherTrack, whether we have all of these different types of companies. We are really a stand behind these products to sit there and say they work if they're managed correctly. Because again, smart controllers, we go on properties where we don't manage, but we go and answer the questions why their irrigation isn't working. Mm-hmm. Well, they turned them off. So that's really a dumb controller. And so we've got to reprogram them. And so that's why, again, we've partnered ourselves with WeatherTrack. They've got a really, really, I think, a very great, a good system in order for them to achieve what we're looking for, as well as also help manage water usage on all these properties.
Fantastic.
It's like when I went to, this was several months back. This was, I would say like close to about a year. When I went to Lowe's and I saw the first, battery operated lawnmower, right? Mm-hmm. Where it was no more gas. I was like, whoa, I go, this is the new Tesla in landscaping, Mm-hmm. I go, now that they brought out this this mower that's battery operated, I go, it's going to change the whole landscaping industry. Even for businesses,
sure.
Especially now talking to you, I see how you guys are being, creating innovations within what you guys are doing.
Yeah, a lot of our vendors that we reach out to are offering, obviously, battery operated machinery now that are at a commercial level. Residential level, you know, it just goes back and forth, and we go ahead and, you know, say, you know, mow like a very small, I would say postage stamp piece of landscape. But in our industry, we're doing very large areas, and so we
Sure.
have to have the idea of, okay, so we're trading gas cans for batteries, and we have to see what our time is going to be with one of these mowers. This battery going to take 3 hours, 4 hours. How many batteries do we have to put on our trailer in order to get this, you know, this work completed? To whereas, you know, again, the mindset was just in gallon or gas. And so that's why we have to now think forward and work with our vendors to sit there and say what's out there so we can literally take advantage of the rebates that are happening out there. You know, a lot of our sales team, you know, we're bringing in, you know, Teslas just for our sales team. You know, I drive a hybrid myself. You know, again, we're trying to reduce just everything that we can in order to be that company that's ahead of the game.
And tell us about the cartoon character that you guys have now.
Well, yeah, it was kind of an interesting thing. We did hire a gentleman, Max Marino Jr., and he is our vice president of water management, I believe this title is. You know, it could be, you know, he's an educator by all means. You know, again, a lot of people call him, oh, he's just a water nerd, you know, but the fact is look at these guys right now are very successful. You know, they're all evolving into technology. So when we look at science, it doesn't lie. When we put things into perspective when it comes to, you know, controlling your water usage, you know, knowing the species of your plants, you know, looking at all of the coefficiencies of what needs to be planted where, you know, again, your turf, like I said, 70%, whether a drought tolerant plant could be 5% of water usage. So again, you start looking at all of these types of things and put it together in a nice presentation, and you can really do, you know, you can make a lot of impact on a community, especially right now with water prices going up, you know, changing things from one to the other as far as like going from recycled or reclaimed water from potable water. So those are the advantages that you have. But again, you know, having a strong staff that knows, I think, plants and what landscape truly can do, we're there to support that.
Fantastic.
I think that your company is basically just providing like a full-on service of education, but also, you know, customer service in relations to everything in landscape.
Oh, exactly.
You know?
Yes. I mean, we have a maintenance, we have a tree care division, and we also have a construction division where we do a lot of like, you know, renovation projects. And again, you know, we have a great staff that is, you know, I think they go that extra mile, you know, and a lot of our guys that have started, you know, we've got a lot of tenure with our employees, you know, and that's one thing that our owner is very, very, you know, you know, again, we have rain days and, you know, everyone's at breakfast, you know, and he treats everybody and everybody has a good, you know, camaraderie with the team, and everyone talks about, say, small little problems, and then he'll say, you know what, hey, send a text message to all the foremen, $100 to somebody who could do this or could do that, you know. And again, I hate to say money motivates people, but what it really does is it allows him to sit there and say, you know what, I knew what it took to do that, because he started from the ground up. I mean, again, if you take a look at his history, you know, with his grandfather starting in the landscape, then his father, then he took over and bought the whole thing. And again, you know, I speak to his father, senior, and you know, he's just amazed on what his son's done as far as the business is concerned, and he's not stopping. You know, he's like, I'm 44 years old, I'm still moving, you know, I'm still going, you know.
That's awesome.
And he's the youngest owner in our industry.
Wow.
Because everyone's aged out, you know, they're on their late 70s, you know, and now they're looking to passing their business to their kids. And right now our industry is not really set up for some of the kids that are out there looking to take that next step.
They all want to cash out now.
Well, yeah. So
Pretty much.
Steven's looking ahead of the pack there.
He's got that Tesla vision.
Tesla vision, absolutely.
And I think really having the long-term vision in an organization, helps you to kind of make decisions that not just benefit you in the short term, but can benefit you long term. And if you can create a business that is recession proof, right? Because everyone wants their yards to look good.
Sure.
Everyone wants their commercial properties to look good. Everyone wants their experience with their plants and everything else to kind of give them the image and the feeling when they walk on the property that they're looking for. And so I think that's critical as we go into kind of the recession and coming out of it. If you can create something that people will buy, even though it's a recession, when the economy recovers, you have that much more business because you've got a market share now.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. We've seen, and again, you've touched on, recession proof, and maintenance has been a little bit of recession proof because you look at construction took a hit. It was down 50% during that time.
Yep.
But maintenance still kept going because, again, it was stuff that was already built. And so if we wanted, people to purchase your homes, they had to have an upkeep on their maintenance. They wanted to, lease your commercial properties. They had to water the lawn. They had to mow the lawn. They had to trim. They had to do all these things in order to keep that appeal there.
Yeah, and right now a lot of investors are looking at how can they reposition properties. So, we have a client that just bought a 20-unit office complex in Artesia. Well, he's looking to basically completely renovate the whole property, redo every part of it so that he can reposition it, get higher paying tenants into the space. So investors want that security of knowing that they can attract a higher end tenant. Well, the only way they can do that is from the time that person walks on the property, they have a high image feeling about the commercial real estate. And so being able to do that and provide that service to the clients is really, really key. And I think right now, investors, a lot of people look at a recession as money disappearing. Well, money doesn't disappear. It just changes hands in a recession. And so the more that you can put yourself in the right spots, right now what we've seen in the commercial market is investors, cash buyers, they're active right now. They're looking to scoop things up. So wherever they see a deal, they're willing to invest as long as they have a plan in mind of how they can reposition the asset. They're still out there making purchases.
No, I agree.
So we want to thank you guys for being on the episode today. Thank you, Madison. Thank you, Robert, for being on with us. And catch us on wherever podcasts are released, Spotify, YouTube, wherever that you check out podcasts, we will be there. So we'll see you soon.
Just
on the
Google
next
us.
episode of Coffee and Commercial. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.